Come one, come all. Welcome to Confidently Insecure, the podcast where we're absolutely sure we don't know everything. Confidants. I'll never forget the time that Zach spoiled it to y'all that the real reason I do certain episodes every week is it's because what I'm going through. And at first I was like, nah, that's just sometimes that gives me idea. Y'all, it is so true. It is so true. And this week, your girl has been struggling. If you noticed last week, okay, anytime I've ever missed a podcast episode, it's been planned. It's been like a holiday or like I knew I had a work thing coming up or whatever. It's always been planned. Last week was the first episode in 6 years since I've started this thing that I didn't put up an episode because things just felt like they were crashing down around me. And this episode is going to be talking about dopamine and happiness and what we can do to monitor it, to take a pause when the world feels like we're crashing out, and how we can reinstate healthy habits, how we can come down from those crazy, chaotic highs that your girl has been going through. And I'll admit, I will tell you guys, I will be honest with the confidants because there's like a very special group here, right? Like I don't talk about everything that I talk about on the podcast that like I tell you guys everything. Sometimes on social media and on TikTok and Instagram, like I'm not even saying everything that's going on in my life. I feel like I know this is a safe space. This is an audience I have like come to know and love very deeply. So I have no problem telling y'all the truth. I decided to join a 12-step program. And don't worry, that doesn't mean I have started drinking again, because I didn't. But I don't even know if I'm gonna, like, I don't know how to even talk about the 12-step program. For those of you who don't know, it's all of the like insert thing anonymous groups. So like the most popular one is Alcoholics Anonymous. They have so many different kinds of blank A groups that I was actually shocked to see how many existed. And I don't know if I'm going to say which one I'm in, not because I don't want to tell you guys everything, but because it's so new to me still. And I am still figuring it all out and like coming to terms with this addictive side of me, that I am getting the help I need. And like, oh, I didn't even acknowledge I'm in Toronto right now. I'm in a hotel room in Toronto, Canada. Shout out to Canada. I know y'all are big listeners. I am shooting our documentary. We are finishing the Marley List documentary that all started here on this podcast years and years and years ago. I'm with my bestie Cantor. You guys remember him from the BuzzFeed days. He's also been on the pod a couple times. He's in his room across the hallway, but yeah, it's like 8:30 at night. We start shooting early tomorrow morning, and I am like just so excited to get one of these big projects done. And isn't that just life when all of the stress and like life around you is feeling like it's falling apart when you have a huge giant project coming up? Like I swear to gosh, it's Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will. And so prepping for this trip, I just was going through so much in my personal life that being here feels like a genuine break. Like it feels like a genuine relief and release. And though I should be incredibly stressed out because it's a very high stakes project, we got financing, we have to sell this and distribute it. I am not stressed. I am in a good place. And I've only been doing my 12-step programs for 3.5 weeks now. And last week I felt like was the culmination of like this come down crash of just realizing I really truly felt the weight of the what's the word we always use? Powerlessness. I felt very powerless. So going through that. But before I dive too much into that, which I'm sure will be its own episode, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Bing bong. In case you didn't know, our Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Lux Press Lace Iced Coffee shirts with Freddie, Tyler, Paul are still available. You can get a cute little sweatshirt. Now that the winter season is coming up, I think it would make an adorable gift for someone in your life on some SSRIs. So definitely check those out. What else? I feel like that's the main one. Yeah, I'll let you guys know when the book release date is because we're getting close to figuring that out. I've decided on a title and a cover. We got the title nailed down like a couple weeks ago, and then I was like stuck in coverland. And I'll definitely do a video and show you guys on the podcast once it's out, like all the process behind the scenes of developing and like stylizing a book. I think that would be really cool and fun. But I am so excited about the cover image. Like, I almost didn't choose this one because I was like, is it too crazy? Is it too weird? Is it too bold? Like, does it stand out too much? But I actually think it's perfect. It's unlike my first book cover at all. And I think it is awesome. And I love both. Anyway, that's our housekeeping. Okay. So picture this. Okay. Now we're going into the episode, the dopamine, the brain stuff. It's 2 a.m. I'm in bed. My phone is like 6 inches away from my face, as it always is. I'm scrolling the TikTok. I've watched a bunch of dog videos. I've watched a bunch of like IVF pregnancy announcement, soldier coming home, skincare hacks that I'm saving that I'll never actually use. And now I've ended up in just like a weird place on the algorithm. Adorable, right? No, I am suddenly like, why the hell am I still awake? That, my dear confidants, that's because of dopamine. That's right. Tonight, we're going to be talking about all about how this little chemical can rule our lives. And I'm not just talking about being happy. I'm talking about it rules everything from the way we feel love, the way we feel sex, the way we feel drugs, the way we feel art. Why you'll eat an entire sleeve of Oreos in one sitting, even though you just swore you weren't eating sugar anymore. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. So this is your crash course in dopamine. No pun intended. When I think about what dopamine does, I think about it in such extremes, right? Like, I think of it as making me feel brilliant, but I also think of it as making me feel insane and like the most depressed I've ever felt. And I am here to teach us how to stop letting it drag us around like a horny little demon on a leash. So what is dopamine actually? So first things first, dopamine can get a bad rap. People are like, oh, it's the addiction chemical. And yes, it is the thing that, cocaine and meth and TikTok and your toxic situationship will all light up in the brain with these things. But dopamine isn't happiness. And that blew my mind. I'm currently reading the book, The Molecule of More. And dopamine isn't about happiness so much as it is about anticipation, not satisfaction. It's the feeling of wanting something rather than actually having it. So all the like butterflies you get in your tummy, having that like conversation with your situationship that is like you're waiting to get that little bit of flirt, that little bit of answer, that second date. Like with drug use, it's the idea of it, the ritual of it, the anticipation of the high. Think about it as this, right? Like dopamine is the cat trying to chase the laser pointer, right? The joy isn't in catching the dot for the cat because the cat never catches the dot, but it's about the hunt. It is about the chase. Dopamine lies in the chase, which is why being a fuckboy probably feels so good. Meanwhile, in your brain, there's this whole other group of brain chemicals that are more about like the present, the here and the now. It's not the anticipation. It's not the wanting. It's the serotonin, the endorphins, the oxytocin. Those are very present. Those are very grounding, very demure chemicals. Those are chemicals associated with like contentment and cuddles and sitting on the couch while your dog cuddles in your lap and you watch Love Island. Like that is the here and now. So dopamine, she's that little attention seeking bitch. Serotonin and oxytocin and endorphins, she's the content cutie. Dopamine is always looking for like the what's next. It's really like the entrepreneur chemical, they call it, because it's always about making moves. It's never having enough. It's I'm never satisfied. It's how do I get more? How do we get bigger? How do I optimize? You know, even wellness gurus have like a big dopamine addiction. And also Dr. Huberman, which if you haven't heard of him, he's the Huberman podcast. I think he's one of the top, maybe the top wellness podcast. Don't Google it. He says every behavior that feels rewarding, every single one runs through dopamine. So not just drugs, not just sex, but like finishing a workout, buying something on Amazon, or even hearing the little ding when your phone gets a text back from you know who. So if dopamine is your gas pedal, right? We got to figure out, baby, what happens if you're flooring it constantly? Did you like that little car metaphor? That was crazy. Okay. So there's also a very popular book out there. I always see it in airports called Dopamine Nation. I think the cover is like, it looks very social media-esque. She also explains in her book that basically modern life is not what our brains were built to understand, with the social media and the Netflix and the get it now, the Amazon, the one click, the door dashing, the Pornhub, like all of this life we have created was not built with our brains in mind. So that's a catch, right? Like your brain likes balance, and there's this pleasure pain seesaw. And if you like pleasure that side down too hard, your brain eventually has to tip back into pain. And that's that drop. That's that dip. That's that low. That's the withdrawal, the like, feeling, the anxiety feeling after you realize your show that you've been watching 8 episodes of is about to come to an end. That's where you realize, like, after your situationship, you know they're about to be busy, or if they just suddenly stop texting and you're just like, okay, well, I guess that's over. Also, it doesn't just go back to your baseline. Like another thing Huberman was talking about in his podcast episode was that there is a baseline of dopamine that everyone has, right? And when you are having sex, for instance, he says that like 2x's your dopamine response. But when it comes back to when you're coming off that dopamine, it doesn't go back to baseline. It just dips a little bit lower, so that next time that high that you're chasing becomes more desirable. That's how addiction actually starts, right? So, you know, sex is 2x, cocaine is like 3x, and amphetamines or methamphetamines is the highest addiction, which that like quadruple X's your dopamine. And again, remembering like the come down, you're not dipping back to baseline, you're dipping below, so that it's even harder and your body even craves that hit even higher again. So it's not just, you know, these books that we're reading. It's science that proves all of this, right? Like they have shown that the same obsessive love lights that spark in your brain when you're feeling a hit of love, that is the same pathway that lights up with substances. So it's not just, you know, it's science has studied this. That's why they say love is a drug, right? Like when you first fall in love, you're like, I can stay up all night texting you. It's like literally because your brain is on love chemicals. And funny thought, that's why like post-nut clarity is such an actual real thing. That's that dip I'm talking about. That's that like it comes back down, but it's even lower. So you're just like very grounded and like, whoa, what just happened? You're very aware. But don't worry. there are fun side effects to dopamine. Okay. It's not all just like doom scrolling and addiction. It is also why we create art and we start businesses, or some of us write books. In the book that I am reading, The Molecule of More, Huberman explains that dopamine drives ambition, novelty seeking, and risk taking. And that's why some of the most creative people also take very big risks. That's why businessmen take very big risks. Like Jerry Jones, I'm watching the Cowboys documentary on Netflix right now, and I'm like, that motherfucker had a crazy dopamine addiction. This guy liked going $15 million in debt only to come out $100 million richer. Like the stress of that on a normal person, I don't think we're built for that. It's why some of the most creative people are also, though, plagued with things like addiction, or why those businessmen are doing blow and needing drinks in the middle of the day to like get through the stock market trade. They're just like high on novelty. And it's the same with relationships. Like I said, falling in love is basically chasing dopamine, and staying in love, that is not dopamine any longer. That is now the comfort chemical. That is the serotonin. That is the oxytocin. So you can think about it like Tinder or dating apps being dopamine, and Costco and wedding rings and children are serotonin and oxytocin. And that's also why the honeymoon phase feels like a drug. And that's why long-term love is so hard to sustain, because your brain isn't getting those dopamine hits anymore. And our society prioritizes love so deeply and dating so deeply that you'll feel like you're missing out on something. When we come right back, look at us. We're going to talk about the dopamine deficit, the dark side, but also how to reclaim and warm up that drug back for you. We'll be right back. Okay, like I said, what goes up, it must come down, babies. Okay, and dopamine is not immune to that. So let's talk about the downside, right? I kind of hinted at this already, but tolerance. That is when it starts to become a problem, because the more you flood your dopamine, the less your brain responds, okay? Because you need more just to feel okay, which is, again, how addiction forms. Like, that's why when we pick up our phone, we'll find ourselves picking it up for longer and longer periods of times. And by the end of the day, when we're just exhausted, we want to completely zone out, that dopamine hit is going to feel so good. We're just going to live in that doom scroll. And that's also why this thought and this understanding of dopamine is so important when understanding addiction too. Like, addicts don't often use to get high. They're doing it to feel normal and good. And honestly, you could swap out drugs for anything like Instagram or a relationship, and the mechanism is still the same. Anna Lembke talks about patients who detox for 30 days from their thing, right? Whether it was like porn or video games or weed. And suddenly they found that the anxiety and depression eased up, because when you stop hammering the nail, how am I going to take this metaphor? When you stop hammering the dopamine, when you stop hammering that nail, the board just stays where it's supposed to be. Let's go with that. Basically, your brain can reset. So that is a really important bit of information to know, is that even if you are plagued with things like addiction, or people in your family are, or if you feel like you are codependent or addicted to sex and love, like, these are all things that can be reset. Your brain can learn how to live without them, but you just have to understand how to get through the withdrawal and the dopamine deficit. And this part also like got a little bit personal for me, right? Because I've lived with panic disorder for so long, and I realized like panic is basically your brain's reward and like pain center seesawing and like misfiring. It's like, here's the thing I'm sending you, even though you don't need it, but you are going to attach to it, you're going to feel it, and you're going to suffer through it, because my brain thinks I need it. And I just felt that so strongly when I was thinking about how you can still reset. Like the longer I've gone without having a panic attack, the less I am afraid of it. And even if it like creeps up, like today I had to fly, right? And that used to be my biggest trigger. Even if I felt it creeping up in the littlest bit, I knew I didn't have to take the bait from my brain. Like even if I felt the chemical flood, I was able to override and be like, I know what this is. So it's the same thing with dopamine. It's like you have to catch it before your body is feeling it. Like you can call it out and be like, I see it. I'm noticing myself dipping into this little dopamine baggie and I don't need to. And you'll see it and you'll feel it because it'll feel really good. You'll start to pick up your phone and start scrolling and then be like, oh, I feel very happy right now. And you're like, I'm going to catch it. And you don't have to give in to your brain's feeling that feeling. So how do we reclaim it, right? We know that dopamine can wreck us, but it is also fuel for ambition and joy, which is something all of us need to survive and thrive in this society. So how do we give it more support? And Huberman gives some great tips on his podcast. He talks about not spiking dopamine over and over without breaks. So don't be mixing basically your addictions all in one, right? So if you're going to go out drinking, don't also do Tinder and scroll TikTok when you get home or take a bump out with friends. Like take breaks on you nailing that freaking dopamine hammer, right? And don't stack them. Don't habit stack your dopamine. Also, intermittent rewards are more powerful than predictable ones. I'm going to say that again. Intermittent rewards, so rewards that are happening not as frequently, are more powerful than predictable ones. So that's why, if you think about it, slot machines, that's why they're the most addictive. They are giving you the intermittent reward. And that's why, things can also feel good when you master that intermittent reward system in yourself. It can feel just as good as the hit felt the first time you were doing it in an addictive way, because your body is not learning how to access it whenever it wants. It's becoming intermittent. That's also why like a surprise compliment feels really good, because you're like, oh my, what? Me? Who? Stop. And some of us are like, please don't compliment me. I can't take it. Natural dopamine stabilizers are movement. I love the phrase, depression hates a moving target. If you move your body, it's very hard to stay depressed. Sunlight. Got to get that vitamin D, baby. Learning a new skill. Okay, let's get into crafting. Let's get into hobbies. Let's get into something healthy. So I think you should literally go outside, touch grass, and learn to knit or whatever. Also, you can do a dopamine fast, just like in the book, the 30 days suggested. Like try taking a break for 30 days and let your brain reset. That is often also a pretty good indicator of an addiction, is if you can't make it past 30 days on doing something that you're telling yourself and you're willing to happen, then it's like, ooh, okay, time to maybe take this a little bit more serious. And for me, that would be many things, right? Like my job is in social media. I am in a relationship. Like I have a lot of vices, even though I'm not a drinker anymore. There are certainly things that I had to watch out for and be like, ooh, okay, I can start to see when I was slipping. So to wrap all of this episode up, dopamine is not evil, but it's not necessarily the best either, right? Like we do want those dopamine hits, but we want them intermittently. It's the reason why you've gotten successful to where you are today. If you think about it, like it's the reason why you probably graduated college or like are in the job you're in or are in the relationship you're in. And also not forget, probably the reason why you drunk texted your ex at 3 a.m. It can fuel ambition and creativity and love, like we said, but it can also be spiraled into not so great habits if we're not careful. And I think all of us could try and do a fun little challenge together, which is to try and go 24 hours without your number one dopamine hit. So take inventory of your day. I'm sure you're thinking about it already. I know I am. I can already imagine the thing that I'm like, oh, well, if I got rid of this, it would be kind of hard to do for 24 hours. And let's try it, right? Like for me, it's probably sugar. How do I go no sugar for 24 hours? I would literally, like, I think the last time I did that was when I was at a yoga retreat in the middle of Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, and we had all of our meals planned for us. And even then, we had a lot of fruit, and I was like scarfing down that fruit sugar because I was just so like, oh, it's been so long, it's been so many days. And see what your thing is, like what pops up for you, and DM me your results. I want to know at Confidently Pod on the IG if you're not already following. And remember, dopamine's job isn't to make you happy. I can't remember if it was like Freud or whoever the fuck decided to say that that's what they thought like the goal was to always be happy. It's just not, it's literally physically not sustainable. You will burn out. Your dopamine receptors will not fucking fire the way they're supposed to. You'll have to go into a reset. So understanding that you're not only not meant to be happy, but you shouldn't be happy all the time is very relieving and very comforting. And remembering from all the way back in the beginning of this episode that dopamine is not even meant to make you happy. It is meant to make you chase. So find a way to make the dopamine work for you. I remember them talking about, I can't remember if it was the book or the podcast, but they were talking about with how do we like kind of trick ourselves back into a healthy dopamine state. And they did this study on children where they took kids who told whatever, the scientists, their parents, whatever, that they loved arts and crafts or drawing or painting. Like that's what they loved doing. They loved coloring. If they could pick any activity, that was the thing they chose, right? So they started having these kids come in and they would have them do that activity, but then they started giving them a reward at the end of the activity. And what they saw was that over time, I'm sure you can imagine where this is going, the kids stopped enjoying the task and were anticipating the reward at the end, which in one way you're kind of like, that's kind of fucked up. They might have taken these hobbies away from these children. But in the name of science, thank you for your service, good children. So the kids were then coming in to do the experiment, to do the drawing, to do the painting, because they were more antsy for the freaking reward. They weren't doing it because they loved the thing that they were doing. So an easy hack, an easy way to trick your brain into remembering that like it's not all about the payoff. It's not about the check at the end of the day. It's not about the amount of likes. It's not about the moment that you can finally go home and crush on your couch and watch Love Island. Remind yourself, especially with things that you are trying to that you're finding are a lot harder to do now, the way that maybe they weren't as hard to do before, is to tell yourself that you're doing the thing you want to do no matter the outcome. So to enjoy the process, you can literally say out loud, like, I am so enjoying the process of this. Like for me, it's definitely like writing and copy editing right now. So being just like, I'm doing this because I love books. I love reading. I love being a book that is in someone's library. I love connecting with people over the things that my book is about. I love being able to help people, like genuinely going to the why and tricking your brain and saying like, this is what I'm doing it for, not at the end of the day for XYZ reasons. So again, why not try this as a little habit, a little challenge for all the confidants? Remember that also it's about the chase. Like that's what it's supposed to be giving you momentum for. So we should try to be a little bit choosier about what we're chasing. I'm talking to you, girly pops that are kind of going for sus men that just keep you coming back for more and more. They're giving you that little dopamine hit. They're giving you that little surprise, that little intermittent reward. Try and focus on getting your dopamine from healthier places. And a lot of people do like the cold plunge for dopamine release because it's sustained and it's a healthy release and it's safe. But I'm also learning a lot right now about how cold plunging can affect women and hormones in perimenopausal women a lot differently than it can affect men. So stay tuned. I'm sure I'll give an updated podcast on cold plunging. But for now, my dear confidants, I gotta go the fuck to sleep because I gotta get up early tomorrow to keep filming our movie. And just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for letting me miss last week. Thank you for showing back up this week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting by buying the merch and rating this podcast. And until next week, confidants, I'll see you later. Bye.